Hey y'all, it's Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Oh, look out, we smoking.
All right, welcome to Gun Talk. I'm Tom Gresham. Glad you could be with us. If you'd like to join us here on the air, 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun will certainly get you in. We are always open lines. If you've got range report, you want to fill us in on a gun you've taken to the range, something you bought, something you're thinking about buying, a gun you sold that you shouldn't have. Well, yeah, I know. We all have those, right? By all means, give us a holler. Give us a range report, 866-TALK-GUN. Today, of course, we'll be talking about the New Zealand mass murder, the takeaway. Have you seen the video? Yeah, I watched it. People say, oh, how could you watch that? Well, you know what you're going to see. But there are a lot of takeaways from that, a lot of things we can learn, a lot of things that will reinforce your safety awareness, situational awareness. What are you going to do? Shorten your response time and allow you to make a plan. I don't know. It's kind of my takeaway. That's the way I look at things. How do I make myself safer? How do I make my family safer? Of course, when you get into the discussion of firearms, it's interesting because some people focus entirely on the self-defense aspect. Some people only want to talk about the politics. Some are into it because of competition. They don't care about anything else. They just are competitive shooters. And then, of course, you've got millions and millions and millions of people for whom firearms are primarily about hunting. And we always like to touch on that as much as we can because, Lord knows, I do love to hunt. Well, I'll tell you what, joining me right now is Tom Austin. He is the program director at Night Goggle Inc. Tom, welcome to Gun Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tom. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, I know we're going to talk about coyote hunting. First of all, is there any place in the country that doesn't have coyotes now?
Well, not in the lower 48. Every state in the lower 48 does. Hawaii does not. Of course, Alaska does as well. But Hawaii is the only state in the U.S. that doesn't.
I think we ought to take a couple of them over there then.
They probably wouldn't like that too much because they are a nuisance.
They really are. And it's interesting how people say, I saw a coyote in my neighborhood. I say, yes, they're like rabbits. They will live in your neighborhood and they will live everywhere. And a lot of people think, oh, they're cute and all that. That's right up until the point where they kill your pet dog and they're smart and they will lure it out as a pack and they will take Fluffy and tear it apart, won't they?
Absolutely, yeah. They're ruthless. It's one of those things where you got to be careful, especially in urban areas, not to let them be acclimated to human beings too much because they lose their fear for humans.
Sure.
And then they really become a problem. They've taken children out of yards before and things like that in Southern California. So it's only a matter of time that that's going to happen to other places if we don't control that population.
Well, in controlling the population and pushing back on it is part of what coyote hunting is about. A lot of people don't know much about coyote hunting. If you would kind of explain how you do it, how you guys do that.
Sure. Well, I started out as a young coyote caller at 7 years old. I killed my first coyote at 7 with Grandpa's lever action 30-30, and I've been hooked ever since. My dad put himself through college selling furs and killing problem coyotes for ranchers and farmers and things like that. And so when I decided to do it for a living, I actually was a police officer for several years. I worked undercover narcotics for a long stint. And I saw a lot of action, and I got burned out from doing that.
Sure.
You talk about the New Zealand shooting, and that's the kind of stuff you deal with, and it's hard on your psyche, it's hard on your family life, and I didn't like who I had become. So I switched, and I decided that I wanted to hunt coyotes for a living, and so I took the plunge. I started my own Predators Only Guide service about 12 years ago. It's called Predator Strike Force, and I take people out and I teach them how to hunt coyotes. My preferred method is calling. I like to set up and call coyotes in using a prey distress sound or coyote vocalization, something of that nature. So we use the Fox Pro game calls. That's the best game caller on the market. They're made here in the U.S. I know that's important to your listeners. And we love to get out there and call in coyotes. The fun thing about it is you can use the equipment you have at home right now. More than likely, you probably have a gun that'll work. You have a caliber that's going to work well. You can buy some camel at an Army surplus store if you don't have any, and you can go out and call in coyotes.
It's one of those deals that, I mean, if you have a deer rifle, you can hunt coyotes. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can get a hand call for $8, and you can learn to blow a hand call. And now you're matching wits with a coyote out there. But, and here's the big but, on the other side of it is, you can go, I always say this, Tom, that there's no such thing as an inexpensive hobby, because you will spend all of your money on it, whatever it is, up to and including thermal, night vision, specialized vehicles. It goes on and on, doesn't it?
Exactly. So several years ago, I was approached by the owner of a night vision company, and he said, I want to shoot a little video and teach people the difference between day and night hunting. Mm-hmm. So we did that. We went out and we used thermal, we used night vision, we hunted them in the day, we put together this comparison video. And from that, I was offered a job to be the director of Night Goggle Inc. And my goal is to help promote the night hunting sport of predator hunting. We sell night vision, we sell thermal, and really we educate the public about the differences between the two technologies and why they have strong points and weaknesses. But really, coyotes run around naked at night, essentially. They can be somewhat guarded during the day. Mm-hmm. And at night, they let their guard down quite a bit. If you, let's say for an example, if you went out and you called in 5 during the day, mm-hmm. that same time, if you would have been out at night, you'd have probably called in 15 or more. It's about 3 times better at night. And we've killed as many as 20 coyotes in a night, which is almost unheard of during the day. In the day, sure. It's hard to kill that many or to even see that many. But the night vision thermal technology is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. Like you said, vehicles, I've got a $75,000 vehicle that's basically
of course you do.
Coyotes. It's got chairs on the roof. We've got infrared lights so we can drive at night. Game caller hooked up to the vehicle, everything. And it's so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun it is. You don't have to spend that kind of money, though. That's
just imagine, 20 years ago, we were going out there and doing it with Q-beams. That's all we had.
I'm telling you, my late father, rest his soul, would be rolling it over in his grave right now, because he taught me how to hunt coyotes using a Tally Hill hand call that he bought from a Sears catalog for probably $6 or $7. He had a rifle that he bought from a local gun store for probably $250. And that's what he started with, and he killed a lot of coyotes. Sure. And now to see me, I look like Rambo going out after these things. I don't do that because it's necessary. I do it because I enjoy it, and I'm trying to promote equipment.
It's fun.
It is a lot of
Tom,
fun.
hold on a second here. I need to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're talking with Tom Austin from Night Goggle Inc. I want to talk about the difference between thermal and night vision and how we can take advantage of one versus the other. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
For more than 70 years, Timney Triggers has been enhancing the shooter's experience. Whether it's a local competition, a day at the range, or even the hunt of a lifetime. Setting the standard in aftermarket triggers, Timney is now producing more than 170 models of triggers for bolt-action rifles, shotguns, AR rifles, and semi-automatic rifles. Proudly made in the USA since 1946. Find your new trigger at TimneyTriggers.com.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
All right, back with you. We're talking with Tom Austin from Night Goggles Inc. Check it out, nightgoggles.com. Tom, we mentioned thermal and night vision. If you would, explain the difference between the two. How do they work? And then what are the advantages of one over the other for hunting?
Sure. So without getting too technical, night vision or I-squared technology enhances light. Any light particles in the sky or in the air is enhanced. And it does that by a bunch of different processes, but thermal doesn't see light. It has no light sensing capability whatsoever. It sees temperature or heat. So that's the main difference between the two and how they work. Some of the pros to night vision are that it's great for identification. You can see facial features. You can tell the difference between identical twins with night vision in the pitch black. It's great for navigation if you want to walk. It gives you a little bit of depth perception. It's great for driving. And it does see through glass, which is important. If you're going to drive a vehicle with night vision, it sees through the glass, and it works excellent. Some of the pros to thermal is it's great for detection. You can see things very well. Nothing can really hide from thermal. Even in thick brush, you can see a coyote or a rabbit. We can see mice running around at 600-700 yards. Usually thermals have a video out capability, which is nice if you want to record your adventures. And thermal's also day and night compatible. Because it sees heat, it doesn't see light. You can use it night or day. Whereas that's a con for night vision. It's night compatible only. It may require an IR light source to use night vision, and the detection is only average. Some of the cons to thermal...
One thing that I was going to say on thermal, the one thing that I've noticed on thermal is that you don't have the definition with that you have with night vision. You kind of get a blob. You get this thermal blob, right? Yeah. Yeah,
and that technology is actually improved. Some of the 640 resolution thermals that are out there can give you pretty good identification features, and you can see some facial features and things like that, but not like you can good I-squared night vision technology. Another con to thermal is it doesn't see through glass at all, so don't buy thermal thinking you're going to drive with it. It's just, and you have no.
It's actually seeing heat. It's actually just heat waves. It's picking up on the heat or the temperature, and not light at all. Okay, so which do you? I mean, if you had to pick one versus the other for night hunting of coyotes, what would you go with?
So I actually prefer thermal for coyote hunting, and most of that is because of the areas I hunt. I live in Utah, so I hunt a lot in the west. We have sagebrush, which can be, 1 foot to 6 feet tall. And with that in mind, the only way to see a coyote in that with night vision is if his eyes are coming at you and you have an IR light source, then they kind of light up like they do in the spotlight. But otherwise, he's going to blend in really well because of his camouflage. With thermal, you'll see his entire body. He stands out like a sore thumb. He can't hide from you. So I prefer to hunt and shoot with night vision, with thermal, but I drive and walk around with night vision. So there's a benefit to both. And I think, if you're going to really get serious about it, you'll find that you'll probably put both in your arsenal at some point.
Are there any combo units that do night vision and thermal?
There's one on the market. It's kind of military grade. It doesn't do it very well. It's called a fusion system, And it's just not viable for civilians necessarily. You can buy it as a civilian, but, it's going to be $30,000.
Well, and I remember when all the thermal was that kind of price, and now it's really come down.
Yeah, absolutely. Our cheapest thermal that we sell right now is $1,900. And it's a thermal weapon sight. It's recoil rated for a 375 H&H Magnum, so it's going to handle a ton of recoil. And you can go out there and hunt at night. We get a lot of guys that buy them for hogs, which is another big problem. Those feral hogs.
You bet.
Lots of people like to hunt rabbits and fox and bobcats where legal and things like that. So, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get into the thermal or night vision game anymore like you used to.
Okay. What is your go-to caliber and maybe even choice of bullet for coyotes?
The age-old .223 is hard to beat. And the reason I say that is because you can buy ammo just about anywhere. There's a lot of different guns out there that shoot a .223 or 5.56. It's not terrible on fur if you want to stretch and dry your fur and sell it on the market. It's good for that. And it'll kill a coyote, with good shot placement. You'll kill them humanely every time. I shoot a lot of .223. If I'm going to hunt a contest where I don't care about the fur, in a contest, we can't keep the fur. We just turn them in, and whoever's putting the contest on keeps them. I'm going to shoot something bigger. I really like the 6mm Creedmoor. It's fast. It shoots a big bullet. And, but again, it's not necessarily fur friendly. So it depends on what I'm doing.
Sure. Makes sense. Are you seeing growth and interest in coyote hunting?
Coyote hunting's exploded over the last 10 years. In fact, in my home state of Utah, there's a $50 bounty for every coyote killed within the state.
Whoa.
And so it's a mule deer joint effort with the mule deer and the cattlemen and the ranchers. They're really trying to push, let's reduce our coyote population, let's increase our deer herd, number one, first and foremost. But it's also going to increase other things, game birds, small game. It's going to definitely help out the ranchers and the farmers. And it puts money back into the sportsman's pocket, which is not something that happens very often. We spend millions and millions of dollars on hunting every year, and very rarely do we get money back in our pocket. We may get a freezer full of deer venison or something like that, but that's about the only benefit we see from it as sportsmen, and the joy of doing it, which is, the real reason we do it. But to put money back in the pocket is good. Money.
Well, the reality is nobody's making money on it. When you've got a $70,000 truck out there and you've got $5,000 or $10,000 worth of firearm and optics, you're not going to make it back with $50. I do want to point out one thing, because if anybody is thinking, oh, wow, they're going to wipe out the coyotes, unless you're poisoning coyotes, I don't think it's possible to really make a massive dent in them by hunting. Do you?
No, Tom. Let me give you a quick statistic that is absolutely proven scientific statistic. You have to kill 60% of the population every year in order for the population to stay the same. The statistics in Utah, even after the bounty was enforced, show that we only kill about 25% of the population. So our numbers are continuing to grow, and we're not even keeping the levels the same because we can't harvest that many animals. And there's hundreds of thousands of Utahns out hunting these coyotes now. And really, instead of us getting better at it, they're just getting smarter and learning to avoid hunters. Utah coyotes all have doctorate degrees. They're very educated, and they know how to keep that hide on. A good buddy of mine says they spend 365 days a year trying to keep that hide, and we may go out for a few weeks a year trying to take it from them, and they're much better at it than we are.
Yeah, and they do learn, and they all are smart. And so all you're really doing is you're slowing the population explosion, but you're not stopping it, and you're certainly not wiping them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we never will. Not with the legal tactics that we have available to us now. Exactly.
Now, do you guide as well?
I do. Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of it. I'm very busy with Night Goggles. I also film for a TV show on the YouTube channel. It's called Fox Pro Hunting TV.
Okay.
I'm a videographer there. Lots of really great tactics for hunting, and it's all predator stuff. And I shoot for Seekins Precision and, work with some other great industry companies. So I'm very busy with that. But I still take a few guys out every year, and we have a lot of fun. I love to hunt coyotes. I hunt from Montana to Mexico and everywhere in between. I hunted Virginia last year. I hunted Florida, Pennsylvania. We spend a lot of time hunting everywhere.
And there are coyotes everywhere in the lower 48.
Yes, sir.
Well, Tom, I appreciate you sharing this. I've learned a lot about thermal night vision and all of that through the process. And I want to get you back on here sometime, okay?
I'd love to. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, Tom.
Absolutely. Look, I appreciate it. It's Tom Austin. Check it out, nightgoggles.com. You can learn a lot about the technology. Are you a varmint hunter? Coyotes, prairie dogs, marmots, a.k.a. groundhogs, etc. How old were you when you got started? How'd you get into that? I mean, and I know it's not for everybody, but let me tell you, when you're in the middle of a prairie dog town, and here's the thing. If you don't shoot them, you know what they're going to do? They're going to poison. If you shoot them, you're going to knock the population down a little bit, then it pops right back up. If they poison them, they're gone. Not only that, it poisons the prey animals that go down and eat the carcasses. So the poisoning is a bad deal, ecologically, environmentally. Going out there and shooting them, you're helping the landowners, because, boy, those things are a mess. They're just awful what they do to the land. And it basically allows them to not go into poison. It's a good thing. 866-TALK-GUN will certainly get you in here. Tell you what, when we come back, we're going to be talking about a new youth shooting organization. Something you can get your kids involved in. Wow, kids shooting. Who'd have thunk it?
A girl can't go wrong with something in basic black, like an AR-15.
Some things never go out of style, like Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
All right, welcome back. Tom Gresham here. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN, or just Tom Talk Gun. We are open lines right now if you'd like to join us. We actually have lots of room, and you could be a part of that. And the questions on the floor, first of all, you can decide what you want to talk about. Oh, and by the way, in case I haven't mentioned, I do this occasionally, but I probably have forgotten. If you don't like guns, or if you think, basically if you disagree with me on anything, call me. This is not one of those shows where you get shouted down or cut off. You will have the floor. As long as you are reasonable and polite, you can have the floor, and we will talk about that. So if you think that concealed carry is a bad idea, call and say why. I'll let you explain it. Now, I may ask you a question or two, but I'm not going to shout you down or cut you off. I mean, it's not the way we work here. My mama would jump back from her grave and smack me down if I was rude to somebody like that. It's just not going to happen. So we'll do that. There are stories in the news. Let's see here. I was going to find this one I want to tell you about. This was really good. I like this one. Representative Carolyn Maloney from New York, U.S. Congresswoman. The headline on this is, what was an embarrassment before? What the Obama administration got caught doing and got shut down, Operation Choke Point. Now Carolyn Maloney wants to make that official policy. Operation Choke Point, you will remember, was the U.S. government, primarily the financial regulation team, the agencies, going to financial institutions, to banks and saying, we really think you probably shouldn't be doing business with gun companies. Yeah, we know it's not against the law. There's no law. But, we just think you probably shouldn't take their money. You shouldn't have any accounts from them. And it's definitely would be a bad idea for you to be loaning them money. And, here's the thing. If you do continue to do that, we'll probably have to come audit you. And we'll probably send some folks in, and they'll sit in your offices for, who knows, weeks or months at a time. Who knows what could happen when you get audited? That's what they did. Well, if you're a bank, if you're a lender, you go, I'm not going to put up with that. I'm not going to subject us to that. And you're calling people like Macmillan Stocks and saying, we're going to close out your accounts. We can't do business with you. You're calling people like Ruger and saying, we can't do business with you. Well, it's probably illegal, but who's going to tell them they can't do that? But at least it got shut down, except that Carolyn Maloney thinks, well, that's a good program. We should make that official program. We should make that an official policy. They had hearings, and she is beating up on the head guy from Wells Fargo, Mr. Sloan. And she's giving him a hard time because they did not voluntarily cut off funding for companies that Maloney doesn't like. I know. It doesn't make any sense. Let's see. She excoriated him for refusing to follow the lead of other national banks that had refused or severed business with members of the gun industry that did not voluntarily adopt certain gun control, quote-unquote, best practices that exceeded the requirements of federal law. In other words, if the gun companies were following the law, that's not good enough for Carolyn Maloney. She wants to hold them responsible for not doing what's not required. I know, it makes your head hurt, okay? Basically, she's saying we need to kill off the gun industry. Say what? Well, let me connect the dots for you. 20 years ago now? Yeah, 20 years ago. We had 30 lawsuits filed by cities around the country, filed by the tobacco lawyers, the ones that shut down the tobacco industry, that killed the, got these multi-billion-dollar settlements from the tobacco industry. They said we can do the same thing to the gun companies. And the gun control group said, look, here's the deal. And they were very open about it. They said our goal is to shut down and to kill off gun makers, right? And the way we're going to do that is we're going to make them liable for the misuse of their guns. If we can get one court anywhere to agree with us on this, then all the insurance companies will bail, gun companies won't be able to have insurance, and you can't operate without insurance, they'll shut their doors. They were open about it, and they said, even if that doesn't work, just the cost of defending the lawsuits will put them out of business. And they said, our goal is to have 100 lawsuits against the gun companies and shut them down. Well, they got 30, and all they had to do was to succeed one time. If they had just succeeded one time, but they couldn't, and they didn't, and they never succeeded, and it went away. And now we have, talked about it earlier in the show, this case out of Connecticut, where involving the Newtown Sandy Hook shooting, the court has ruled that a lawsuit can go forward against Remington and Bushmaster, holding them responsible for the murder committed by Adam Lanza. This is not about, and this is the thing that's important to understand, this is not about that case. This is about the Golden BB. If they can find a way to hold gun makers responsible for the misuse of their products, they destroy the gun industry. And when I say destroy the gun industry, I'm talking about there won't be a gun made in America. There won't be a gun company in America. They don't have to pass a law to get it done. They don't have to go to Congress. All they have to do is get the courts to hold that gun companies can be held liable for the misuse of a non-defective product. Nobody can operate without insurance. And no insurance company is going to cover a gun company when anybody who gets injured with a gun, victim of a murder, victim of whatever, can hold them responsible for the misuse of their products. That's the goal. It was 20 years ago, and it is today. It's exactly the same thing. And that's what Carolyn Maloney is trying to do by saying we're going to strip them of their ability to get finances to function to not have credit, to not have financial services, and that will kill them off. When they say we don't want to take your guns, they're lying. But they also have a plan B. There's a phrase you've heard recently. Their plan B is to simply kill off gun making. Simple as that. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN. Give me a holler. We'll be right back.
Whether you carry it on your hip or in your hands, when it's from Springfield Armory, your gun is a part of the legendary line, the great 1911 pistols, the innovative XD, XDM, and XDS pistols for competition and defense, the new 911 carry pistol, guns you can count on. Shooters everywhere rave about the Saint pistols and rifles, and of course, the mighty M1A battle rifle. Check out the latest at springfield-armory.com.
Want great deals on guns, ammunition, and gear? Download the free Gundealio app today. With Gundealio, you can search for deals, listen to the Gun Talk podcast, watch gun videos, read gun news, and get notifications right to your phone about deals and special offers. Save money on the products you want from the companies you love. New deals, discounts, and rebates added daily. Gundealio, available for free in the App Store and Google Play.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. shopguntalk.com.
All right, back with you. Let's go to the phones. Line 4, Brian's with us out of Newark, Delaware. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
I am well, sir.
I'm a big fan of your show, and I just wanted to tell you about an experience I had. The gun I have. I was interested in the 6-hour P238. It's the little 380. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay, and it has different models to it, and they have a heavier gun that's basically an all-metal. I went to a big store here in Delaware, a major box store, if you will, outdoor store, and I wanted to find out how secure the safety was on it, because that's like a 911 kind of clone, and I'm going to be carrying it with the hammer back and the safety on, so I wanted to see how secure the safety was. And I went to the big box store, and the man there was basically saying, well, you don't want this gun, you want a 9mm. And I'm a gun guy. Seriously, I'm a gun guy. I've been hunting and fishing all my life. And I explained to him why I was there. And he looked at me and said, that hammer pulls back. You don't have to carry it in a cocked and locked position. And I looked at him, and there's a bunch of people around, and if I had been an inexperienced shooter, and I would have been intimidated by this. And I just looked at him and I said, show me. And he goes, what? I said, I doubt severely that this is a double action, single action. You have to carry it with a hammer back. Right. And he pulled the thing out of the counter, cleared it, put the hammer down, and pulled the trigger, and nothing happened.
Of course.
And people are looking at him like, and again, I just have to tell you that experience, if I hadn't been a gun guy, I would have walked away with a gun telling me something that it didn't function properly. So, but this is really my question. After I went to that store, I went to a really cool hardware store. It's a mom and pop hardware store, and they had guns, and they had the same kind of models that I was looking for, and I ended up buying it there. But the model I got was the Spartan edition, which has that insignia Molin Lave, which means come and take them. It has a little Spartan helmet. It's a really cool gun. I ended up getting it. It's not the gun I wanted. I wanted a plain black and silver, heavier gun, again, a heavier frame. But the guys there said, look, it's on sale, and I got a real good deal on it. So my question to you, after all that, is if I have to use this gun for self-defense, and it's all tricked out with the gold and black, it's really cool, Spartan helmet, and that insignia, which basically translates to come and take them, Is that a bad thing? Am I going to have to deal with court because the fact that if I use it in a justifiable shooting, like if I defend myself, is that going to be an issue if I have to go to court?
It could be, and I think you're pretty smart to have thought that through, to say, okay, what's going to happen when they get me on the stand, and or they're presenting this thing and saying, this guy is one of these nutcase right-wing, come and get it kind of guys, come and take my gun from my cold dead hands. You know, I think probably it's not going to be an issue, but could it be an issue? Yeah, it could be. Let me ask you, I'm going to flip back here. The big store, was that a Cabela's?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you go to a small store, a real gun store, and you get the kind of service you're looking for. I got to applaud you. I think that you did well. I would carry that gun. It wouldn't bother me. You know, we could just explain that if we need to. That's just a check item we have to worry about if we get to that situation. But good on you on number one and understanding that the 380 is a good, viable self-defense caliber. And looking at this little pistol, this little SIG 238, which is really a nice pistol, and also for finding the right store. I appreciate that. That's a great range report, Brian. Thank you for that. I appreciate the call. Let's see, line 3. Patrick is in Kansas City, Kansas. Patrick, talk to me.
How you doing today, Tom?
Great.
Hey, I've been listening to you for quite a while, and at first I was a little scared. I travel all over the United States, and kind of nervous or didn't know how to move my firearms with me. And I finally started taking wherever I go because my line of business takes me into areas of town that's a little sketchy. And so I'd always pack a firearm, and I've been doing this, like I said, for 3 to 5 years. And I have the mobile app on the phone. And so when you can go in and check early, et cetera, and I go into the counter and check firearm, no problem. A couple weeks ago was the first time I traveled in the calendar year of 2019, and I went in on the outbound flight, checked my firearm, no problem. On my return flight, my app would not allow me to check in. The commercial airlines knew I had a firearm, and that has never, ever happened before.
Which airline?
Something changed? Excuse me?
Which airline?
United.
So you checked a gun on the way out, and then you were trying to check in for your flight on the way back, and they wouldn't let you do an online check-in. What they were doing is going to force you to go to the ticket counter to check in.
Correct. And when you go into the kiosk, it said it had on there checking a firearm. So it knew I had that.
And of course, that's ignoring the fact that you could have actually taken it with you and left it wherever you were. But, you know, be that as it may, I've never had that happen. I'm not surprised that they are inputting that information. I would have to look. I'm not even sure they're supposed to keep track of that information. I don't think they're supposed to have that info or that it's entered into your database. So I would be curious about that. This is the first report I've heard of this, and I'm going to do a little poking around. So this was United. We'll see if we can find out something on that. But I appreciate that heads up. But smart on you. Hey, if you're going to be traveling, and look, traveling with a gun, for those who don't know, traveling with a gun on airlines is easy. You just follow the rules. You check in early. You make sure it's unloaded. It's in the locked case. Follow all the rules. And they're all online. Every airline has its rules online. It's pretty easy. And then when you get there, you will have your firearm with you. Why would you not, if you carry it home, why would you not take your carry gun with you when you travel so you have it where you go? Obviously, you got to make sure you're going to a place where your permit is honored. And yeah, if you come from a state that has constitutional carry, you probably want to get a permit anyway, so that will be honored as part of reciprocity as you travel around the country. It's important. It's your safety. It's your family's safety. 866-TALK-GUN. This is Gun Talk. You remember when I mentioned I had bought a rifle in 5mm Remington Magnum, the rimfire cartridge? Very cool. I got a great deal on it. Well, except for the fact it doesn't work. It has a broken extractor. Turns out that's a weak area. And it's well known that that's a weak area on this rifle because it's a high-pressure rimfire cartridge. It's also hard to find extractors for these. So a friend of mine sends me a note and says, hey, here's one on an eBay auction. I went, ooh, cool. Short version is, yes, I won the auction. But the PS on it is I paid almost the same amount of money for the extractor as I did for the rifle. Yes, I know. Okay. My buddy says, yeah, but you stole the rifle. You got a good deal on it. Yeah, I know. But still, it's like probably a $6 piece. I paid over $100 for it off the eBay auction. Oh, well, as they say. Otherwise, the rifle doesn't work, so there you go. Hey, line 2, John's with us out of Alabama. John, you got a range report for us, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I got a double range report for you. One is directed at you and one is me.
Okay.
I've had a love affair with a triple deuce for years.
Nice.
So my wife bought me a triple deuce that had been used, if you can call it used, it had only had 18 shots fired through it.
222 Remington.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And there was, his test target was still in the box when I got it. So I says, okay, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but if he can do it, damn it, I can do it. I went to the range, and he says, oh, by the way, it shoots this group on factory ammunition. So I bought a box of 222, went out there, and you can believe this or not, because I've heard you guys talk about minute of angle and all that stuff. At 100 yards, it regularly, if I'm relaxed, and now I'm 76, so I'm not always as relaxed as I should be, you can shoot a quarter-inch group at 100 yards.
Holy cow.
And that, I was just grinning like a possum eating poo-poo.
Well, that's a find and then some. That's great.
Oh, and by the way, you said your first pistol you bought was a Ruger single six?
Yes, sir.
So was mine, a 3-screw in 1956.
Ooh.
56 or 57. The guy had used it for fast draw, and he had it worked on. It has a 4-ounce trigger on it. And I still have it, except now it's in my son's hands. But the one that's directed at you, you mentioned a couple weeks ago you were looking for a lever-action 45 long Colt. And I can't help you with that, but I'm a Marlin collector.
Right.
I've got 39A, 22 Magnum on up the line. I've got an 1895 Cowboy with, it's model 1895, not the year.
Right.
And it's got a hexagon barrel, 26-inch barrel. It shoots 357 Magnum and 38s. And I'm telling you, that thing is the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
Yeah. What a fun deal. And I've actually thought about maybe getting a 357 because I generally carry a 357 revolver. And it'd be kind of cool to have the rifle in the same caliber as a revolver. There's no particular need to do that, but it'd be cool. So that's very cool. I love the idea. I don't know if I'd want the 26-inch barrel. I know they shoot great. They hang well on target with the big heavy barrel out there. If I wanted to carry it a lot, I'm not sure. But, man, those are great range reports, sir. I appreciate that, John. Thank you, sir. If you have a range report, by all means, let us know. 866-TALK-GUN. What have you been buying? God, I love that report from the box store where the guy didn't know what he's doing. Not uncommon. That's why you go to gun stores. Come on. Also, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the bump stock ban. We are 9 days away. Does it matter? Well, it does to every gun owner, whether you have one or not. There's a reason for that. If you have one, what do? If you hold on to it, you could become a federal felon. So we'll know. We'll find out in just a few minutes.